and now need to convince important stakeholders or make sure that your idea doesn't get lost in the huge world of mass communication. Well, our next speaker that you see right behind me already knows exactly what to do in this case. Gesa Lischka is CEO, owner, and co-founder of the agency Kochstrasse in Hannover, and a neuromarketing strategy expert. Make sure, by the way, to follow her on LinkedIn because she's what we call an influencer. And on a personal note, she influenced myself as well because I had the chance to participate in one of her great neuromarketing workshops. Today, Gesa will use neuroscience and behavioral science to teach us how to address the brains of our audience and to gain maximum impact of communication. In the second part of her talk, we will get to see a design case study which shows how implicit motives translate into logo design. So please welcome with me Gesa with her talk, How to Make Ideas Matter, Insights from the Brain.
Hello, everybody. Okay, my name is Gesa, and one of these 3 facts about me is not true. It's not true, and you have to guess which one it is. Okay, I've been followed by a Russian gangster. I smuggled 2 punks in the boot of my car across a river. What? Yes. What? 2 punks. Punker. Like, you know, red hair. I fell off the 3rd floor as a baby. These 3 facts are so against the norm of white middle-class women like me that I can almost guarantee that your reptilian brain has snapped. Now I can start with my real message. Hello, everybody. I'm a liar. All of these facts about me are actually true. Yes, I survived, fortunately. Okay, and again, I can almost guarantee that your reptilian brain has snapped because I created a conflict for you. I lied to you. Can you trust me any longer? I mean, I'm going to talk to you now. Can you trust me? So yes, your reptilian brain has snapped. And I've got your attention. I'm working in marketing. You know, I'm one of these advertising people. And in marketing, attention is the holy grail. That's what we want. We want people's attention, first of all. So, I want to talk about how to make a message stick. I want to get very practical, very basic. So you've listened to a lot of science. This is a bit of eye candy, you know. Okay, I'm going to show you a very, very simplified model of the brain right now. Let's call it the marketeer's model, shall we? Okay, so the brain is made up of 3 levels. First, it's the famous reptilian brain. That's this part over here. The second level is the limbic system. And the 3rd level is the neocortex. Okay, let's dive a bit deeper and look what these levels are for and why you should care. Okay, from an evolutionary perspective, the reptilian brain is the oldest part of the brain. It's responsible for fight, flight, food, and sex. It's about approach or avoidance. The second level, the limbic system, this is where our emotions are processed, and the neocortex is involved in higher order brain functions such as logic and language and analytics. Okay, let's move on. Okay, the reptilian brain, on this level, we decide within milliseconds about approach or avoidance. Okay, let's imagine me in a bear skin now. Just don't make it too cold, please. And I'm walking through the woods with my spear and my bear skin, and all of a sudden there's some noise in the bushes. I have to decide within milliseconds now if I'm going to approach that noise, because it could be my dinner, guarantees my survival, or if I rather avoid that noise because I could be his dinner. So it's these two directions, avoidance or approach. And all your ancestors have been pretty good on this, otherwise you wouldn't be sitting here, because they managed to pass their valuable genes into the gene pool, and so all of you can be sure that you've got pretty good instincts, and that within milliseconds you decide about approach or avoidance. Okay, in the limbic system, your decisions are made. In the neocortex, we put our decisions into language. In the limbic systems, your decisions are made. In the neocortex, we put our decisions into language. And we've got good arguments. Let's imagine you've developed a new machine. And this machine is unique to you. And you've got 3 unique selling propositions. 3, not just 1. You've got 3 unique selling propositions. And you've put a lot of work into coming up with these arguments. You've phrased these arguments in your neocortex. And now a lot of times we believe, okay, I've put so much effort into coming up with these really good arguments. And then we think that we can put these carefully phrased arguments that we generated in our neocortex directly into the neocortex of our customers. So we are not talking on eye level, we are talking on neocortex level. Well, unfortunately, that doesn't work. We cannot talk on neocortex level. So, while we still believe that we, in communication, address this part, the logical part of our customers, first, we have to pass the beast there. We call it the gatekeeper, therefore. If the reptile does not snap within milliseconds and say, approach, that's interesting, you can talk your head off. You can have as many good arguments as you like. Your message is lost. I always say the message dies the death of rationality. And in marketing, we see that quite often. And I'm pretty sure that you can all think of some campaigns where you think, very logical, but I'm not interested. Okay, so what we have to do if we want the message to stick, if we want our message to come across, we have to master all 3 levels of the brain in that order. First, the reptile has to snap, and then we need an emotional resonance. And then on the 3rd level, we have to get the arguments right. Okay, let's get a bit more practical and see what can we do to make the reptile snap. What do we do in marketing to make the reptile snap? Okay, this is our creative director on our table tennis table in our underground car park in his own underwear. We used this image to place a job ad in a fairly conservative German newspaper. In this newspaper, this picture definitely deviates from the norm. This is not what we usually see. Therefore, we can guarantee the reptilian brain snapped. Why does everything that deviates from the norm make our reptilian brain snap? Well, again, imagine me, in my bearskin, and you have to know that I always eat green frogs for breakfast. They're very good for my skin, they make my skin glow, they're full of protein, so green frogs are my breakfast norm. So all of a sudden, there is a red frog coming along, and I have to decide now, will I have the red frog for breakfast and have something to eat and survive, maybe? Or do I rather not have the red frog because it might be poisonous? So red frog deviates from the norm, immediately has my attention. This picture in a German conservative newspaper deviates from the norm, gets the attention. However, here you can see that you have to be careful. As I mentioned, you have to master all 3 levels of the brain, because a lot of people think, that's disgusting, I don't like that image. And our message is lost to these people. So they will not move on to our carefully phrased arguments why you should work for us. In that case, that wasn't too bad for us, because we're pretty sure that these people weren't happy to work with us anyway. So we could, it wasn't dangerous for us. Okay, so deviation from the norm makes the reptile snap. It's the first one. I'm now going to show you a film, because the reptile is very hungry, and this film only lasts 13 milliseconds. It's not only hungry, it's also very quick, the reptile. So you have to watch carefully now, otherwise you have missed the film. Right. What did you see? Did you see a car, or what did you see? House, thank you. What color did the house have? Was it blue, or was it red? What colors did you see? Yellow. Mm-hmm. Okay, was it winter, summer, springtime? Summer. Mm-hmm. Where do you think was the house placed? Was it somewhere in America, or maybe China? What do you think? Context. Okay, that's insider knowledge, but not true, actually. Okay, this is the amount of information that you just processed within 13 milliseconds. Pictures, 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 work with pictures. In our agency, we spend so much time on finding the right image. Most people spend a lot of time on finding the right arguments. You need to spend much more time on finding the right images, because your messages get across so much faster when you get the right images. Okay, so this is, by the way, the film that you just saw. It's in Brandenburg, in the Uckermark. Okay, another thing that makes the reptile snap are faces. We're the only species that has an area in their brains that's called so-called fusiform gyrus, and this area is activated whenever we see faces. So if you manage to see a face in the backlights of a car, that's due to the fusiform gyrus. And human beings, their instinct is to, well, see faces. So in advertising, we use a lot of faces because we know that the reptile snaps. Okay, and there has been an interesting study to show you how strong this instinct is, that embryos, they turn towards a light source of 3 dots when the 3 dots resemble a face. However, if the 3 dots resemble a triangle, nothing happens. So that's how strong the instinct towards faces is. So whenever you are at the beginning of your sales funnel, you might want to use faces because they draw people towards your brand. The closer you get to the end of the sales funnel, you might want to get rid of faces because they distract your customers from the buy button, for example. Okay, and to get more subtle now, because we're an agency who works a lot with the implicit, that's our big passion. Here we're working a bit with the implicit. One of these images generates a lot more clicks than the other. Okay, don't think about it, just listen to your guts. Which one is it? What do you think? The right one, okay. Have you got an idea why it's the right one? The right one is right. Eyes, it's absolutely right. The only difference in that picture is that my pupils are enlarged. And when we see something we like, be it a product or a person that we like, our sympathetic nervous system kicks in and our pupils get dilated. This allows us to see better what excites us. So, and this is an instinct that works especially well on men. They react to dilated pupils in women more than women actually do, and in the end, it leads to more clicks. So this is how we work with neuromarketing. Okay, Now you've learned something about the reptile and how to make the reptilian brain snap. Now we want to move on onto the second level, the limbic system, and towards emotions. The famous scientist Antonio Damasio said that emotions are not a luxury. Emotions are actually driving us towards a certain outcome. There's the word motion in emotion. Emotions get us going. And I always say, imagine emotions to be the locomotion that drives your message into the neocortex. Okay, now at the latest, you know that this is a model and not how our brain really works. Okay. In neuromarketing, we differentiate between feelings and emotions. We are talking about emotions whenever something is on a subconscious level and we are not aware of it yet. And we're talking about feelings the moment we become aware of something. I give you an example. You might be scared of something, or you might experience the emotion of fear, but you're not aware of it yet, and you wouldn't be able to voice it on a conscious level. However, this emotion already has a big impact on your behavior. For example, you might book a hotel room because there are only 2 more available, but you wouldn't be able to say, I'm actually scared that I wouldn't get that room anymore. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that emotions drive us towards a certain outcome. They get us going into a direction. That's something that we want in marketing. We want to get people going towards the direction. And the second thing why marketeers love emotion, and why we always say it's very important to have emotions in our campaign, is this one. Okay, I want you to think of your first kiss now. You might close your eyes and think of your first kiss. I'm not going to ask you about it, so... Okay, I can tell from your smiles that most of you remember your first kiss. Now I would like you to remember what you did last Thursday. More difficult, isn't it? It's more difficult. Okay, why is that? Okay, when you got your first kiss, a lot of emotions were involved. And whenever there are lots of emotions involved, our body produces a lot of hormones. And these hormones, they work like little anchors in your brain. And they make sure that the event actually sticks to your brain. So you remember your first kiss, you remember 9/11, you remember when your children were born. So whenever there are lots of emotions involved, the message sticks to your brain. So that's the reason why we want emotions in marketing. However, we also work with more subtle emotions. We don't always need the big emotions. We also work with subtle emotions. Give an example. If we are in a slightly good mood, let's say we are thankful for something, we are more likely to try something new and to try a new product, for example. If we are in a slightly conservative mood, slightly less happy, we rather stick to the familiar. We don't try out something new. So if you want your customers, for example, to stick with a product, or to stick with your subscription, to stick with a subscription, you're not going to tell them all the benefits, you're telling them what they might lose if they actually want to get rid of the subscription. Okay, so to wrap this together, how to make communication bulletproof. Remember, you have to master 3 levels. First, make the reptile snap. The second one is let emotion transport your message into the neocortex and make it stick. And the third one is don't screw up your arguments, because you need good logical arguments in the end. It doesn't work without good logical arguments. Okay, so you can remember these 3 facts. Now I want to get a bit more practical and tell you something about a real case from our agency, just to show you how we actually work with the implicit insights that we gain. Okay, so let's get practical. The case that I'm going to show you is from TUI. Some of you might know TUI is a global travel agency, and they asked us to relaunch their sub-brand First Reisebüro. First Reisebüro, they've got travel agents, like real offices for real people in real places, where you can book real holidays all over Germany. Right, and at first Reisebüro, they thought that the reason why people come into their offices is that they wanted a good holiday, that they were looking for relaxation and a fun time and the blue sea and blue skies. And well, we did an implicit association test with customers, clients, and new clients, people who didn't know First Reisebüro, and we found out that's not the real reason. That's not the reason why people actually come to a travel agent. The reason people come to a travel agent, well, at least an implicit reason, major implicit reason, was security. They wanted to know that all their documents will be there for them, that they will be safe, that there will be somebody who picks them up if something goes wrong. So security was the biggest reason for people to come into the travel agent. Okay, what has that got to do with relaunching a logo? Well, they asked us to do a facelift, but we also wanted to make sure that this logo also addresses these unconscious motives already in the design. So I'm going to show you now, I give you a little glimpse into how we work and what we do. So you have to understand that the first thing that we see is color. Color has got the biggest impact on us, and is then followed by form. So it's color and form that we see first, and then there's nothing for a long time. And then there's letters and signs and numbers, and after that there is words. So we started the design process with color because we know that color has such a big impact on our subconscious understanding. Okay, this is the old logo, what the old logo looked like, and we concentrated on two levels, color and form now, and these are the old colors that First Reisebüro used. And you can already tell in our German context, these colors are coded with freshness, fun, holiday, so they're very product orientated. And to give you an understanding of, well, the German brand landscape, the darker the green gets, the more conservative and security-based brands tend to be in Germany. The brighter the green gets, the more, well, let's say, start-uppy and fresher the brands get. So we actually worked on colors, and this is the new color scheme that we came up with. I'm not sure if you can see it on the screens right now. So the green is a bit darker, it's a bit more subtle, and we've introduced a darker blue. But as you can see, we stick to the same color scheme because we don't want to confuse our customers. They're used to these color schemes. We just altered it on a subconscious level. Okay, so next thing is that we looked at form. There we've got two, well, things that we can play with. First is typography. And here the first letter is very vital to the perception of the First Reisebüro typography. And so we had a look at the first letter, and what we did is we improved the symmetry of the first letter. And all of you know that we prefer symmetrical faces. We think that symmetrical faces are more attractive to us. And our brain translates everything that's more attractive into, I like it better. It's more secure. It's less risky. So our brain makes it really easy for us there and think, okay, I like it better, then it's less risky. So we knew that by improving the symmetry on a subconscious level, people would find it less risky and better. Another thing that we did is we added some organic forms. So we got rid of some of these very sharp corners. Why did we do that? You might have seen this example, which form is called boo-boo, which form is called kiki. All of you know immediately on an instinct level which form is boo-boo, which form is kiki, and it doesn't have any logical reason whatsoever. Our body just knows it. And this kind of instinct knowledge we used for our typography. Okay, to make a short, okay, this is how we actually altered the logo, and you can see it's a bit more organic. We pretty much stick to the same color scheme, so not to confuse the customers. Right. Next element are the branding elements, and just to remind you, it's security what we're looking for. What does a roof do? Well, it gives us protection. That's something that we know, but most of all, it's something that we feel when we're under a roof and it starts to rain, so we feel protected. Okay, and what happens when you meet these two while walking your dog? You meet two people and they're looking into the sky. Well, you will follow their gaze and think, okay, what are they seeing over there? It must be interesting. So the same effect works with arrows. So we also follow arrows with our gaze. It's not as strong as like the human gaze, but it still works. To give you an example, 2 web pages, one of the 2 performs better, has got a better conversion rate. It's the right one, and the only difference is the arrow shape that kind of guides the gaze into, well, the deeper landing page. Okay, and so we used this knowledge and created our branding elements. So first we created a kind of house that protects us, gives us security for the brand, and also the shape, we know that it gives direction for the customer's gaze. So we've got 2 elements that kind of serve us, serve the brand. And we also use these elements as building blocks for the layout, so it's very constructed. And this is what the new design looks like. Very simple, very green. This is what the old design used to look like. Right, and then we tested it again because we thought, okay, does it really work? Is it just nice design theory, or does it actually work on an implicit level? And we tested it, and here we see that only the logo, we only tested the logo, not the brand elements, not the ad, just the relaunched logo, and we could tell that sympathy increased, and we also saw a change in willingness to pay just by altering this logo. So next time when you think, these agencies, they get so much money for just relaunching a brand, they're actually worth their money. Okay, and what we also use AI and the implicit for is we are double checking our claims. So we had a look at different claims that the brand is using, let's say advice with competence at heart, guaranteed experts checked, and time for dream vacations. And we could tell, okay, activation of strength and safety, exclusivity, that was the other thing that we found out in the study, exclusivity and safety, we can see, okay, claim 2, claim 1, they seem to work, whilst claim 3, the claim that they used in the past, time for dream vacations, doesn't actually work that well. Okay, and that's from me. Thank you very much for listening. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Gesa. That was amazing. I also like the similarities a little bit to the interactive exercises that Michael did, like the O, which snaps out of the arms, and being in a good mood makes us creative and see the T between the L's. Very, very nice. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Who has a question for Gesa? Michael has. Can somebody get the microphone?
Yeah, not so much a question, also a big praise. Thank you so much. It was a fantastic talk, and and gone so well. Where do you see the industry now? I mean, we all have the feeling, we fight it for maybe 2 decades. Implicit has arrived. This is very, very good. Why do we still see other processes, or just your comment on that?
I think the interest has increased, the understanding has increased over the last, well, that's my perception, over the last 2 to 3 years. When we started with neuromarketing and the implicit, I actually had to tell my clients, to teach my clients what neuromarketing, what the implicit is, and that has changed now. So I see an interest rising, not necessarily a knowledge yet. But there's a lot of interest out there. That's a good starting point, I think. Mm-hmm.
And also certainly compliments to your distinction. That is, you showed it extremely well with the reptile and then the second emotional structure. That basically was Jacques found it also with his modelings, that you need this distinction at the beginning. So it's certainly true what you
The
say.
reason for that is I'm working with Steffen, as a lot of you know, and I'm not a scientist. I've got a cultural background, and for me it was so hard to understand all these implicit science wordings, jargon. So I always had to come up with, my own translation, so my own picture, say, okay, it's like a cake that we've lost the ingredients to, and we have to make sure we find what actually makes the cake rise, like when we compare it to bread. And that helps me, and I think it actually helps a lot of clients out there as well, the moment we translate the jargon into something that's easily understood.
Thank you very much, Gesa. And yeah, we also had the praise from the virtual crowd, and they asked if your talk is available, and I think it's part of it is your TED talk. So I told the people on the virtual side as well, you can find Gesa's talk online as well, and we also recommend visiting your website, Kochstrasse.agency. It's worth a visit. Please go ahead, and we're very happy to work with you, with Kochstrasse, and of course with Steffen, who is also here, who did the implicit association test, I guess, for you in this study. Yeah. And yeah, we're very happy with our tool, and we're very happy about the cooperation. Thank you very much, Gesa.
Thanks.